Thursday, January 1st. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we talk about those house rules y'all be rolling with.
Let's do this.
Man, I don't know if tonight's episode is going to top last night's.
Oh, last night that was the best episode of Geeknights I think we've ever recorded.
I think that really is pretty much our triumph. It's over after this.
I mean, you can always tell when an episode is quality because it's so easy to do. The episodes that are hard to do are usually bad, and the easy ones do are very good.
And it was like 4 hours long, so...
Good times.
Oh,
good
yeah.
times. So, yeah, today, you can just forget today's episode. It's not worth it.
Yeah, it is New Year's Day, so you're lucky we're even doing an episode today.
You're real lucky. We got some time to kill, and we're sort of waiting for stomachs to settle and maybe eat dinner and go to bed, because you got to go to work tomorrow.
Well, really, the only reason this is happening is that I have 12 fluid ounces of Red Bull right here.
Uh-oh. Oh, yeah, because someone brought those to the party and they didn't drink them.
He drank one of them.
That's about all a man can drink.
So, this is kind of important, so I figured I should talk about this in the news. But Xbox Live, it's down.
Wow.
Still down.
They sold so many Xboxes on Christmas that all those people trying to sign in totally destroyed the system there.
I think there is, in fact, a relevant penny arcade from some number of years ago.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, we had similar problems. I mean, I tried to go to the Wii store, the Wii shopping channel on like Christmas Day or the day after Christmas, and it wasn't working. It was not going. So,
well, think of this. Think about how many Wiis have been purchased in the last, 4 months. Pretty much every single one of them was a gift. They all turned on at about 7 a.m. Christmas Day.
And a large percentage of them went online, though not all of them, because a lot of people, can't set that shit up.
Of course, we thought we had some problems later, but it turned out the wireless router just crapped out.
Yeah, I reset the wireless router with the button. That didn't help, but unplugging it and then plugging it back in, that worked.
It might not have helped that we had, 12 laptops in the house, pretty much.
It's like we own one Mac, but yet when people come over to visit us, there are more Macs in the house than anything else. And we're nerds with a lot of computers. Like, we got like 5 or 6 computers in this house, but goddamn.
We really need to set up that Scott Johnson / Katsu computer in the living room to keep them busy.
Yeah, I think we should get a computer set up in the living room for people to use. And also anyone who doesn't have a laptop should get one. And
I'm working on it. You see,
I think we need to get a higher quality wireless access point.
Remember, I was going to buy your laptop only with a better processor and pretty much better everything else, but the power went out, and I didn't, and now I'm waiting for that better laptop that's coming out.
I think anyone who wants to buy a laptop should wait exactly 2 months. Then you will, about a month maybe, but February is the month to buy laptops, let me tell you.
It's just a race. Can I hold out?
Because January is when all the shit's going to go down, and then in February when you're going to be able to buy all the shit.
So I can say one thing, though. Microsoft is actually going to refund the money for all the time down for the people who pay for Xbox Live.
No, that's nice of them at least. Well, I don't get a refund for the time the Wii shopping channel was down.
Yeah. Well, if anything, you should probably pay Nintendo for the fact that you're not using their stupid wireless.
Actually, I bought Punch-Out from them today, even though it doesn't have Mike Tyson in it.
But is it otherwise exactly Mike Tyson's Punch-Out? I didn't look.
Yes, it's otherwise exactly Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and other than the fact that Mike Tyson is replaced with Mr. Dream, who I assume is the exact same thing as Mike Tyson, only looks different. Yeah. And the word Mike Tyson has been removed.
Well, obviously.
I played and I was fine. I lost to Bald Bull twice, but I rematched him and got him.
No, you got to remember, he goes badoom, 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 and on the 2.5 badoom, you punch him in the gut.
Yep. And then after that was the second Piston Honda fight, and
that's like the first hard fight in the whole game.
Yeah, he took me out, and I couldn't.
Because you think you're ready for him. All right, he's going to do his piston thing, and then he does it twice.
Yeah, I totally forgot the order of the guys, so I kept thinking the next guy was going to be Soda Popinski. And
he's way late in the game.
He was. I think he's after that second Piston Honda. But yeah, I really wanted to get to Soda Popinski because he's hilarious. His head is shaped like a bottle of soda pop. All right, so what was your news, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
All right, so I got a double news here. Ready? So, in this glorious New Year's week, or I think the week before the New Year, there were 4 new games for the Wii released in the U.S. All right, only 4 games. You know what 4 games they were?
I do, but I think I'll let you tell the world?
Well, the first one was called Kawasaki 4x4 quad bikes.
Oh, those Kawasaki 4x4 whatever games, because they have things like that in the arcade. Let me tell you, those are some great games.
Yeah, then they got classic British motor racing.
Huh.
Monster Trucks with an X, off-road.
I think the X is better, a little bit classier than the Z you see in games like Cats or Dolphins.
And the best one, Rig Racer 2, where you race in big rigs.
Wow.
Rig Racer. Okay, so yeah, 4 shitty racing games are the only games that come out for the Wii in the last week of the year. What does this tell you? It tells you that the Wii is the system that's getting a lot of crappy games for it and only a few good games. And you know what? Sounds a lot like the PS2 to me.
I think so. I mean, people always talk about how many great games there were for the PS2, and that is true. There are a lot of great games, like games that will go down in history as some of those great games from our time on the PS2. But you know what? 99% of the games on the PS2 are worthless.
Yeah, you go to the store, GameStop or whatever, you look at the shelf for PS2 games, and you see a row that has all those great games that people, will talk about forever. And then you see 20 rows of games that are complete shit. And, people would never trash talk the PS2 for that. But when they look over at the Wii and DS shelves and they see all these crap games, they trash talk the Wii and DS for that. And it's like, what the hell, man?
Well, not everyone does.
A bunch of crappy games for a system is a sign that the system is doing well, because it means that there's so many consoles out there that you're still going to make plenty of money even if you put out a shit game with, mediocre sales.
I mean, remember when the GameCube was out and then bit by bit the third parties started abandoning it? I mean, there weren't a lot of crappy games for the GameCube just because there weren't a lot of third-party games, and generally, third-party games on Nintendo systems pale in comparison to actual first-party games on Nintendo systems.
Yep, and everyone always says, you don't want to make third-party games for Nintendo systems, but I'm not going to talk about that now. That's a separate topic. But anyway, yeah, that PS2 with all its crappy games. You know when the PS2 came out?
A long time ago.
The year 2000, because remember we were at RIT and there was that casino night where you could have won one?
And we were going to pool all our money together to try and win it, but it wasn't enough, and we didn't win it.
Well, because we bet it all on black. We had a big pile of money. If we bet it on black, if it would have come up black, we would have won a PS2, but it didn't, so we didn't win a PS2.
Wow, yeah, we had a 48% chance of getting a PS2, and then, much like when Bart and Milhouse got Radioactive Man #1, there would have been trouble as we tried to walk home.
There would have quite been some trouble. And that was like, that casino night at college was like right after the PS2 came out. That was like PS2 on day one. So what games would we have played? I don't even know what the release games of the PS2 were.
Well, someone had, because there weren't even that many PS2s at RIT. As nerdy as the school was, there just weren't enough.
Well, after a couple of years, there were plenty.
Yeah, but when they first came out, I remember there was some robot game that was really pretty. It was one of the launch games.
Zone of the Enders. That was a release game, I believe.
But then I played it, and it wasn't so great.
Well, it was actually not a bad game, but it was very short. It was basically like a robot tech demo kind of thing. But yeah, anyway.
Oh, a launch game tech demo, kind of like Luigi's Mansion.
Yep.
Not actually much of a game.
Yeah.
Scott beat it for some reason.
It basically Zone of the Enders, Luigi's Mansion equivalents for their respective consoles.
But I
maybe
point out,
maybe Nintendo made Luigi's Mansion and said, "Wow, this is just sort of a short tech demo," and they said, "It's okay. Sony put out that Zone of the Enders. We're all right."
I do point out, however, that one of those games has General Beauregard and one does not.
Okay. So speaking of that PS2, with its piles and piles and piles of crappy games.
This is quite a bit of build-up to your news.
It is quite a bit of build-up to my news. The PS2, which came out in the year 2000, so is now 8 years old.
Well, I didn't believe what you told me, because, Scott was secretive. Sometimes when he thinks he has a good news, he won't tell me what it is. He'll just kind of say, I got something, just let me...
Yeah, because what good is it if we discuss the news beforehand? Because if it's an amazing news, you're going to have to say something about it before the show, and then that ruins it.
So he's trying to verify it, and when he told me what it was, I actually didn't believe him, and I told him to continue verifying.
Yep, so the PS2 came out in the year 2000.
Yep.
The DS came out in the year 2004. All right, so it's 4 years of PS2 existence with no DS existence. So it's 4 versus 8, basically. In Japan, we're not talking about the rest of the world, talking about Japan only here. Total, all time, since the history of the universe, existed, there have been more DSs.
There might have been game consoles in pre-human civilizations. You don't know that.
That doesn't count.
They might have been called the DS.
That doesn't count. In Japan.
You specified the wide window, not me.
Yes. There have been more DSs sold than PS2s sold ever.
That
You can take all the PS2s sold for 8 years and all the DSs sold for 4 years, more DSs sold.
Well, I mean, it goes without saying that Nintendo has pretty much been, for as long as the portable gaming market has existed, Nintendo has basically had a monopoly on it. The fact that the PSP still exists is amazing.
It is amazing indeed. And there are actually, a few interesting PSP games there.
Pa-ta.
Yeah, but I still wouldn't buy it. It's still not worth it to buy a PSP, but if you got one, at least it's something to do. But anyway, yeah, that's absolutely insane. The PS2, the most successful, craziest, biggest selling, most hit games console that has dominated the world for 8 years and is still selling. This portable system outsold it. I think, though, there's a bit of cheating going on here. And I got to point this out, or else I'd be
DS
dishonest.
Lights?
Yeah, think about it. People with DSs, very likely to replace them with DS Lights. People with PS2s, not very likely to replace them with slim PS2s.
Not very likely to replace them with PS3s.
No, not very likely to replace them with PS3s either. So, yeah, DS Lights definitely sort of fudge those numbers a bit because you pretty much got to take the DS fat sales and subtract them from the total sales, leaving a small percentage, and then.
But at the same time, the fact remains that the DS is pretty much the number one gaming platform in the world outside of South Korea.
Yeah, pretty much. At least in places where it is sold, and PC gaming doesn't have a strangle on it.
Well, yeah, we can't count South America where the Sega Genesis still has a strong lead.
Also, I think, in Europe, I think DSs are I can't really figure out exactly how popular DSs are in Europe. I assume they're kind of popular, but places where mobile phones are just so crazily popular like that. Of course, it's weird because Japan, the mobile phones are also crazily popular, so I don't know. But yeah, I don't think in Europe it's that big. I think there's more mobile phone gaming in Europe than there is DS gaming. That's just the vibe I get. I had to figure it out exactly. But
yeah, though I think part of it, I mean, while Nintendo always has the best portables, partly because they seem to always, they understand that portable games, like the actual games you play on a portable console, cannot be the same games you play at home, because you can't have a game where you're on the train going somewhere waiting for the doctor and now you have to spend 10 minutes finding a save point. Or waiting for loading time.
This is Sony's mistake still, which I think I talked about this when the PSP first came out, is that, look, now they're making it so you can, play PS1 games on your PSP via your PS3. And it's like, okay, but none of those PS1 games are actually games that are designed to be portable. They're not good games to play on the go.
Yeah, it's basically just a Sega Nomad, and we know how that ended.
Yeah, Gran Turismo is not something you can play while you walk about town and get on the train. It just doesn't work.
I think part of the PSP is getting games like Patapon, and I think they might have realized this.
Oh, I think they're just, what Sony has done is, I think ever since Katamari, they realized the way to try to get those gamers and keep them in is to get these exclusive games that are sort of quirky in a Katamari way that might, be a smash hit on every gaming site. Of course, Portal sort of took that away from them.
Well, Portal's the best video game ever made.
And that's why they've been paying, to get things like the Patapon, and they paid a lot of money to the person who made Flow to get Flow on the PS3 and all that stuff, so.
Things of the day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. I just realized something extra about my thing of the day just now.
Oh, did you?
Oh, I did. All right. So, you know how some people make off those knockoffs of PSPs and DSs and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
And, you go and you go to the dollar store, and there's something that looks just like a PSP, but it's $1.
Or the V.
Yeah, and you buy it, but it just looks like a PSP, but really the games it plays are like Tiger LCD games, and it's mostly to trick grandmas who don't know any better. Oh, my son wants a my grandson wants a PSP. Oh, there's one. Buy.
These are the same, like the game, like cats or dolphins, or dogs. These games that Nintendo sold crazily. So they made what looks like on the surface the same game, because grandma doesn't know. She knows that little Susie wants that dogs game, the game with the dogs, and she goes and she sees dogs. Only $20. It's got Nintendo on it.
And then she's Nintendogs, $35.
And then little Susie gets probably one of the worst games to be made ever.
Yep. So, most of those things, there's some funny videos, I think, were things of the day in the past where a guy makes fun of them. Those are pretty good.
I love when they open the V and see what was inside.
That was a good one. But anyway, one company has done something I think is pretty cool. They made this thing. It looks like a PSP. It's actually pretty close to a PSP. And, the idea of it is, you remember back when you were a kid, someone had that, gum, and it looked exactly like Doublemint gum, but when you took the stick of gum, it snapped your finger.
I remember that. Or the
and
the
it really only
classic
hurt if you were a
buzzer
little...
in the palm.
Yeah, it only really hurt if you're a little kid with little fleshy fingers, and if someone does it to you now, you're just like,
See, the problem was, it always, it looked like gum, kinda, but at the same time, no 5-year-old ever knew how to properly present that gum in a manner where I would not immediately be suspicious.
I knew how to present that gum in a manner. You had to conceal the fake packaging with your hand and only allow the stick of gum to be pointing out.
Actually, what you do is you take a real stick of gum and you put it under the fake stick, you pull it out, put it in your mouth in view of someone, and then you say, "Oh, hey, you want some?"
Ah, that's a good one.
I was the master of conning when I was 5 years old.
Yes, because it is easy to con 5-year-olds.
Yes,
when you have
yes.
the mind of a 10-year-old. So, so they got this thing. It's obviously, to anyone who's ever seen a PSP, this is not a PSP, but it's pretty close. And you give it to someone, and they try to play it, and nothing actually happens on the screen. It just shocks them.
How badly? Are we talking like electrocution? Or just,
I assume it shocks them. We've talked about that shocking roulette thing, right?
Someone at my old job had it, and
Shocking roulette is actually a really good thing for almost any gamer to have. What it is, it's a little box, and it has 4 holes, and everyone puts their finger in one of the holes.
It's reminiscent of Thunderball.
Yep. You push a button on it, and one of the 4 fingers will get electrically shocked, and the other 3 will not.
What better way to determine who goes first in a game of Tigris and Euphrates?
I can think of no better way. None. So that's shocking roulette. So this, I assume, shocks you in a similar manner to shocking roulette. A legal, non-deadly, but possibly painful and surprising shock. Good for a gag, not good for hurting anyone. Now,
the thing is, those things are never... I'm not saying they need to actually cause harm, but they need to cause a little bit more pain than they do.
Mm-hmm. Now,
we can fix that.
You thought that PSP was good. I clicked on a link and I see something else. Here they have, those laser pen keychains?
Yes.
They've got a laser pen keychain that also shocks people if they try to use it wrong. So you can be like, ooh, laser pen. Want to play with my laser pen? Yeah. Psst. Oh, it hurts. Even better than that, they got a fake iPod. Listening to music. Do. Hey, you want to listen to something? Okay. Shock. It's good stuff.
Except usually you just hand them the headphones and not the iPod.
I know, but
now unless maybe it shocks you in the ear.
Oh,
that would be hardcore.
That would be hardcore, but possibly lawsuit action could be coming.
Oh,
through.
quite, yes.
It's also a really fake looking iPod. I really wish people made these things look. At least the laser pen looks exactly like.
Yes, because I'm sure Sony is perfectly okay with you making a product on the market that looks exactly like their product, only instead of allowing you to play enjoyable games like Patapon, it fucking shocks you.
What if we just made some sort of add-on for the PSP where we put a thing on a real PSP?
The PSP shocker?
The PSP shocker. You give someone your real PSP
and they
try
shocker.
to play it and they get shocked.
That
way it would be really easy to fool somebody because you'd have a game running on there. And if you were the person who installed the shocker, like there's maybe a hidden like child safety switch. So you put your finger on it while you're playing on the secret button behind the PSP so you don't get shocked. You're playing the PSP, and then you give it to someone, and they don't push the secret button on the back of the PSP while they're playing, and it shocks them, and there you go. Good times.
You seem to have a lot of plans ready to administer the shocker.
Oh, everyone better beware. There's a lot of shocking coming through.
Yeah, I think the studio audience might have leaked into the microphones a little bit. This is actually... For the first time in a long time, we actually have a live studio audience.
That is greater than size than one.
Usually it's just Emily like playing her DS and listening to us idly, or Alex downstairs on his laptop. And you might think he's downstairs. How can he hear you? We're pretty loud.
Pretty loud.
But I remember one time Emily went out for a walk while we were doing the show, and it was summer, so I had my windows open. She could hear us like way further down the block than you should be able to hear us.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, but I did not give them a microphone.
You got a thing of the day over there?
Oh, I do, in fact. Now, Emily showed me this actually last night, and this was kind of amazing. Now, the story here is that there's an advertising agency, whatever, and they wanted to grow their company's like commercial CG department, like just make it better. And what better
so you
way
can make
to do
cool
that?
CG commercials, and people would pay to make them, and you make money.
Now, you could send them off to a school or one of those I don't know, classes things, like go off on a business trip and learn how to do whatever. But instead, they just said, all right, guys, make a short film. And they made a short film. The film is called One Rat Short. And it's kind of amazing.
It's kind of amazing, but the only problem I can find with this film is that the lab is a terrible, terrible lab. Not in, I guess, also in what it does, but what kind of lab has a vent that goes directly to the outside world? And a door that goes directly to the outside world?
Maybe what they're testing, because I note that the rats were on treadmills. They're testing the effects of the environmental air conditions in an average office.
It's a terrible, non-scientific laboratory.
What do you want? I do like the fact
laboratory.
that apparently
I want to be able to maintain my believability.
Apparently the protocol for failure, if the system fails, is to let all the rats free, turn off the lights, and open the front door.
Yep.
But I'll warn you, this film is really good. It's incredibly well animated. Like, this is some damn good 3D.
Yeah, they must have had some really good people working at the advertising agency to begin with, and they probably brought some good people in as well. So.
It's won like 10 short film awards. It's pretty but I'll warn you.
I think they're going to get a lot of business from people who need ads, and I think that anyone who buys ads from them is going to end up with amazing CG commercials.
It is, one, very sad, and two, very kind of frighteningly reminiscent of Portal.
There are many similarities between this short film and Portal, and I would not bet against someone who said that the people who made this video were also playing Portal.
Though I can say that I'll quote the art director for this. One of my favorite short films, which I saw as a child, was The Red Balloon. I think the melancholic and innocent spirit of that film inhabits One Rat Short.
I think he should...
I think he actually based it on Portal.
I think he needs to watch Tales from the Street Corner.
Because the Red Balloon is not a... I did not enjoy the Red Balloon.
No, but I think he needs to watch
Have you ever seen the Red Balloon?
Yes.
Baloo!
Yes, he needs to watch Tales from a Street Corner.
And not the good Baloo, who fights air pirates
my God,
and Shere Khan.
Audience, raise your hand if you've seen Tales from a Street Corner. Okay, so maybe we should watch it. I don't know. I could always watch that.
It's really good.
It's amazing.
Really sad. Doesn't give you the moral you think it's going to give you.
It's amazing anyway. And we did a show about it.
So, we were playing, it was a weekend. We got all our board gaming in since we had the whole crew here. We rubbed out a quick T&E. Scott won.
I won. That's right. Who won? Scott won.
You know what's funny, though?
Who won the previous T&E?
Oh, Scott has won 2 games of Tigris and Euphrates in his life. It's pretty impressive.
I believe objectively you could call me the reigning king of Tigris and Euphrates. Two rivers. Who can take that?
I will point out that if you were the reigning king of that region of the world, it's not going to go so well for your civilization.
You want to play some Amun-Re? I'll take the Nile, too. Nile, next stop.
Have you ever won Amun-Re?
No. No, not in a meaningful game, but Nile, next stop. Let's go. Oh, shit,
right.
Floods.
So, we're playing all these games, and we played one of those cheap-ass games that we got a while ago, and we've been meaning to play.
We did a show on Apples to Apples, and one of our listeners suggested to us to play Big Idea, which is a similar game. And I finally, after owning this game for weeks and weeks and weeks, New Year's, I think we played the game 3 or 4 times. I was surprised I was able to get people to play it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, incorrectly, Captain Wonderpants.
I was very tired and such over the New Year's with the partying and the loudness and the waking up early and the going to bed late. So we played it.
Because Scott didn't have to go to work on Monday, and he wasn't. I had to go to work, so he had to wrangle the Visigoths, and I did. For once, I wasn't there, and he had to handle on his own, and. I think it tired him out.
It's very headache to wrangle them, mostly because they're loud. Like, you go into the living room.
Oh, they're loud. We're not loud at all. We don't make noise.
Is a difference between the loudness of one conversation with a loud talking person and being in a room where there are just like 30 people talking. It's like, my head.
I love the front row crew.
Yeah, that's great.
But the game's, like, the concept's there, and I think my powdered decadence was quite delectable.
I don't know. I liked my... what do you call it? The permanent gasoline.
Permanent gasoline's good. I think the best invention. We won't get into that. We're gonna do the show another time.
Yes.
But after the game was fun, but it wasn't perfect.
Yeah, basically, it's a game of trying to sell products, but there's also this investing thing, and the only reason the investing thing is there is because the point of this game is to sell products and be funny. The investing thing is there so that you have some way of determining the winner and the loser. And the investing thing kind of works, but it's kind of shitty, and it's not fun. It's just kind of tacked on.
Now, of course, after the game ended, we do what we do with every board game we own or ever play, which is
analyze it seriously in great detail.
So we spend quite a bit of time talking about how the game could be made better.
Think of it, we took this silly little cheap-ass game and we analyzed it as if it were...
That's like when Corbin was trying to play that PB&J game with Luke and Gabby back at RIT. This is a game made for 5-year-olds. And the rules weren't exactly clear. So I remember a long argument where... basically...
Wait, Corbin?
Oh, Colin, not Corbin.
Colin.
Colin was arguing with Luke about a race condition that occurred in the game as to what if I play 2 PBJs before you play your one?
Game for 5-year-olds, people. Arguing about the rules. It's like rules lawyering in Candyland. That's what was going on here.
I recorded that. We'll talk about that
later. What if I
later.
go down the chute and then up the ladder? Do I have to...
Well... If you go down the chute and go up the ladder, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I know.
Because there's no chute that goes to the place where the same ladder went.
I know, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that can't happen. See?
I'm just making...
You see? See?
This is exactly what's going on.
So, earlier in the weekend, we had a bunch of people over and we needed to play another game. And what better game to play than Gloria Mundi? Simply because Hedonism Bot is probably my favorite character in Futurama that isn't Bender.
Yeah.
And also
Especially
Hedonism Bot.
Hedonism Bot.
Except you, Hedonism Bot.
All right.
So he comes up a lot. He just lately, for some reason. I don't know why. But that game is also a game that had a lot of potential, but actually playing it is not that fun.
Yeah, I mean, the basic concept of the game of you're running away from Rome because you're all hedonism, and the Goths are going to sack Rome no matter what, is a good concept.
And also, the game mechanics, each individual game mechanic is like solid gold.
The
idea of playing the resources.
Yep, it's good stuff. But the way the game works out, largely because of the costs of the buildings and the way the buildings work and the way the Goth works, the game ends up not being so fun, and there's not a lot of strategy or tactics that's meaningful. Of course, I won that game, too. I had a fistful of resources, rocking on, running away to Carthage.
Yep. So, we played that game, then we talked for a while about how that game could be made better, and we realized, what can we talk about but house rules and making games better, augmenting games you already own and play.
Now, here's the fundamental question here, right, is what defines a game? What makes one game different from another game, you know? If I change... let's say...
The rules?
Exactly. I mean, let's say I have a game of baseball, right? What if in baseball I say 4 strikes, you're out? Is that still baseball?
Well, no, because baseball is defined by the lexicon of the rules.
Exactly. So when you take Monopoly and you say landing on free parking gets you money, that's not Monopoly anymore. That's something else. That's Monopoly with free parking money.
Monopoly with a house rule.
Yep. And it completely changes the game to a different game. Now, I'm not saying that, just because a game is changed that it's bad. If you have a game that is bad and somehow taking some of the rules of that game and adding some other rules that you make up or figure out creates a newer, better game, that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of people, they sort of have these house rules like, no, this is the way you play Monopoly with the money on the free parking and the free jail, whatevers, and the BS, and that's, they're not trying to make a game better. They're just changing a game with random house rules.
Well, one thing I've run into a lot is that, especially with Monopoly is probably the best example of this. I think that most people in America who play Monopoly play it wrong and don't realize it because they've never in their entire lives actually looked in that rule book.
Nope.
They learn from someone else, because everyone I've ever met other than people at RIT who are really hardcore into board games didn't do the bidding, didn't even know there was bidding in that game, and for some reason thought that if you land on free parking, you get all the money that was given to the bank from all those taxes and things.
Yep.
And taking out the bidding pretty much takes out the whole game.
It's not that even though if you follow the rules of Monopoly, it's still a terrible game.
Oh, no, but...
In fact, if you play by the real rules, it's even less fun, if that's possible.
I find it very fun to play it with the real rules once per year at best, kind of like
Settlers. Well, you haven't played it in like a few years, so do you want to play it with the real rules?
I think we should play a game of Monopoly with the whole crew.
Because I have a really fancy Millennium Monopoly set.
With the real, official, exactly what the original rules said rules.
I would do that. It sounds good. Plus, I like that set is really fancy, and I like to fiddle with it because the money's really shiny, whatever. But why would I do that when I could play one of the other 100 awesome better games that I have when I know that's not so good?
Well, the thing is, playing Monopoly like that is okay because it doesn't take that long as you don't let the Ken Nicole situation
That was
occur.
X-Men Monopoly. That's completely different.
It's the same stupid game.
I know.
I mean, we were playing Monopoly, and it was really fun for like 10 minutes. Then everyone suddenly went, "Oh, wait a minute. That's right. Monopoly sucks.
Yep.
This sucks." Luckily, everyone went bankrupt, except Ken and Nicole. And like, all right, let's just quit and play something else. And Ken says, "All right, yeah, if you forfeit, then I win, and we'll play something else." And then Nicole says, "Well, no, you quit. I'll win, and then we'll play something else." And I think 4 hours later, one of them won.
If I didn't even think that was possible.
Well, we pretty much ignored him and played another game.
Yeah. All right, so house rules. We're going to talk about house rules?
I think so.
All right, what house rules do you want to talk about?
I don't know, just how to... I guess we could talk mostly about how to not suck at making house rules, because a lot of people just kind of make house rules without thinking about it. And we talked about this before with mods and games and changing the rules of a game, how you can really take away any actual... You can ruin a game real quickly by changing the rules without thinking.
Well, a lot of people, I think what they do, like look at Monopoly, right? They add a house rule to make the game... It's like when they're playing the game, there might be something they want, right? For example, you'll be playing Vinci, and you will really want to have 3 things for your civilization instead of 2. Like, man, I like my barbarians revolutionary civilization, but I wish it was barbarians revolutionary livestock breeding. That would be awesome. So they change a rule to be where you have 3 things instead of 2. Or you'll be playing Tigris and Euphrates, right? And so many times during the game, you'll say, man, I wish I had 3 actions instead of 2. So they'll say, man, we all want 3 actions, don't we? Yeah, okay, let's play with 3 actions. And they don't actually think about, will that make this game a better game, a worse game? They just think it'll be more fun because they'll be getting what they want. Sort of like the same reason people cheat in Counter-Strike, you know? It's like, man, I wish I could do this. That would be great.
I wish I could shoot everyone in the head and not get shot in the head with my TMP.
And be faster
I
than
shot everyone
else.
in the head.
Yeah. And if you don't if you ever cheated at Counter-Strike, you realize that after a while, it's not fun.
Are you kidding? That's never not fun.
I think that's only fun because there's real people on the other end.
Yes, exactly. Have we done a show on griefing specifically?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
Because we probably should otherwise. Because
we should.
On one hand,
I think we've definitely discussed it.
I hate griefing, and I hate griefers because I want to have a serious game. But on the other hand, I really, really enjoy griefing people online. That there's a reason why there was a period of about 2 months when out in FARC, I never posted unless it was try to start a religious flame war. And I succeeded about 2/3 of the time.
Okay, I don't think... I'm pretty sure we've discussed griefing on the show before, but... in 06-12-20, dubs and subs, my thing of the day was... I don't know what this thing of the day is, but the thing of the day was gross genitals grafe. And I'm going to click on it.
What?
I don't know what the hell this is.
Grafe.
I have no idea what this thing of the day was.
Are you sure that was the word?
Oh, no. It was the time we talked about griefing because it was the time I clicked on it. It's
the penises in the Xbox Live.
The penises in Second Life.
Oh.
Yeah.
Penises. It's always penises. Why is it always penises?
I don't know. Okay. So yeah, when you want to make a house rule, right, generally the first thing you have to ask yourself is this game not fun? Because if the game is fun, don't change it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yep. I mean, actually, I've noticed something. It seems like most games that have house rules that people use just kind of willy-nilly are generally bad games to begin with.
Yeah, because, if the game is fun to begin with, there's not going to be anything that frustrates you or makes you feel bad while you're playing the game, and you're not going to think to change anything. So when someone changes something, like house rules in Monopoly, which I think that's evidence that most people realize that Monopoly is a bad game and don't have fun with it, and that they feel the need to have to change it because... like they want to play it, but because maybe something about it is fun, but it's not completely fun.
I've noticed that most people's house rules seem to oftentimes add a very large element of randomness or some sort of just like, oh, the crazy thing can happen. The game's up in the air until the end. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's very hard because it's very difficult to think up, a really good rule. It takes a lot of time and a lot of thinking to design a balanced and quality board game, or any kind of game. And coming up with a house rule just sort of randomly is almost never, unless you put a lot of thought into it, going to make the game good.
Yep, it basically comes down to the utility of the game. The utility is what you want, what you're getting out of playing this game. And if you're not enjoying the game, you have to alter your utility or alter the game to provide the utility you want.
Yep. For example, in the big idea game, right? The utility of the game is we want to encourage people to do two things. Number one, we want people to come up with funny products to sell and sell them well.
High priority booze hammer.
Yep. And the second thing we want to do is we want people to have an incentive to vote for the funniest and best products and the people who, pitch the best products.
Because in the end, we just want to be entertained.
Yep.
But the game's utility is get the most money.
Yep.
And the mechanic to get the most money is to basically ignore what the funny things are. You actually don't really want to have the funniest thing because you'll make a lot more money having like the second or third funniest thing that maybe one person invests in. And then you pretty much roll dice and it's totally random.
Yep. So what we did is we said, hey, why don't we do this? Obviously, this is a different game because we're completely changing the rules, but everyone makes a funny product and tries to sell it. Then everyone votes for one product that's not their own, and they have to vote. They can't withhold their vote, right? Like you can in the normal rules. And whichever product, for every person who votes for your product, you get 1 point. So if 5 people vote for mine, I get 5 points. All right? So you want to make something funny to get lots of people to vote for it. Now, for all the people who, voted for it, right? They get money too. So if I vote for something and Rim votes for something, then we each get $1. That way, voting for the thing that everyone else votes for gets you more points. So there's an incentive to vote for the thing everyone else votes for, and there's also an incentive to make the thing that everyone's going to vote for. And that's all there is. Very easy.
Now, luckily, this is an incredibly simple game.
Incredibly simple, which is why it was very easy to come up with house rules.
In fact, it was easy to come up with a lot more complex schemes and basically make a much larger game out of that.
That was not necessary because all of it detracted from an excuse. The only thing you need is an excuse to make funny products and sell them.
Now, number 2, say you decide to have a new house rule or try someone else's house rule. You really have to go into the first couple times you play expecting the game to be broken and being a kind of cognizant of how it might break so you can try to maybe fix the house rule, make it better, maybe realize it's not the best house rule, that sort of thing.
Yeah, like if you come up with a house rule, play the game, and if you see that, the person who, was sort of doing stupid things ends up winning, something's wrong.
Or like if I make a house rule, I don't know, the Harkonnen get 100 spice instead of 10 at the start of Dune.
And you notice
and then I get pissed because the guy playing the Harkonnen wins and it feels unfair and cheap. Well, you were playing kind of an asterisk game anyway, so it's not like you can really...
Yeah.
Actually, this is probably the most important thing. When it comes to house rules, if you ever play... Like, say you have a house rule, it's good, you use it all the time. Like, in D&D, we roll D30s instead of D20s or something,
man.
Whatever. Or our burning wheel, D4s.
Oh, crazy.
Think about that.
You couldn't succeed on anything.
You could.
Barely ever.
Those white shades become a lot more important then.
They sure do.
But, all right, so you've been playing with this house rule. Like, in Settlers, you roll the robber, and everyone has to bribe the guy who rolled the robber. And, that's what you have to do. If you ever play with anyone who isn't in your little crew, you'd better tell them about the house rule before you start playing. Because otherwise, I guarantee this, I've seen this happen way too often, especially in, gaming clubs or large groups of friends. Not so much in the crew, because we're kind of anal about our board game rules.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be halfway through the game, someone will do something under the misapprehension that the rules are not the way everyone else thinks they are, and then the game's totally broken, there's going to be an argument, and someone's going home crying.
Something like that. There's also a problem of people who have a house rule and they play the game a certain way to the point where it sort of becomes natural, and then they go somewhere else and play the game, say at a gaming convention, and they sort of naturally play it with their house rule, forgetting that's not how it goes.
That happened at the World Settlers Tournament at UberCon several years ago.
Really?
In the first round, right? The first round was pretty much nubs. I won 10 to 6 to 4 to 4, something crazy. And I remember on the first round, right away, robber comes up. And I'm like, all right, bitches, I'm about to throw the robber down. And 2 of the players say, no, it's in the first 4 rounds. You can't do that, blah, blah, blah. We got to just re-roll.
You called the judge over?
I said, that's not the rules. Called the judge over. He said, that's not in the rules. And, yeah.
Yep. you got to remember what's a house rule and what's a real rule. Make sure you read your rule books, because like if this might happen a lot with things like Magic the Gathering and stuff like that, where, be aware of what the real official rules of a game are, even if you don't play by them, so that when you play that game in public, because you're probably going to want to if you like the game, that you're not being stupid, because you will get laughed at and punned. Okay, show kind of short, not as good as yesterday's show, like we said.
Yeah, what can you do? That was a triumph.
I know.
I mean, for all of you who are still alive.
All right. There's a lot of people here hanging out, being bored while we're making a show, and we should go and, dinner and all that kind of other stuff, and then go to bed early. So, and clean all this crap out of the house.
Oh, great. Work tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's all right. We got a lot down, actually.
Yeah.
And just for the record, because we did some of the final planning, we said this before, but it's gaming day, and it's the new year, so we're going to say it pretty much straight up. Scott and I are going to be at PAX.
We're going to PAX.
No matter what.
It will happen.
We will be there. I can't promise we'll be doing any shows or anything. We might. I'm working on that. But we will be at PAX.
Guaranteed. 100. Unless something happens, such as the plane crashes, we die before then.
If both of us die,
we both lose our jobs and have no money.
If we both lose our jobs and have no money, we're kind of fucked anyway, so we'll just road trip across the country with whatever we've got left.
Maybe.
And then, after PAX, Mexico.
Maybe.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it, as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.